Welcome to Shark Talk, a podcast diving into the journeys of the players and coaches chasing their dream this summer. I'm Liam Stevens, your host and broadcaster for the Martha's Vineyard Sharks, taking you inside the grind, the growth, the day-to-day life in the New England League. From packed stadiums to long travel days to late-night ferry rides and so much more, we've got you covered. Let's dive right in. Welcome to the very first episode of the Shark Tank podcast, coming to you from Martha's Vineyard, home of the Martha's Vineyard Sharks, your collegiate summer baseball team. I'm Liam Stevens, and all summer long, we're bringing you conversations with the players who make this team special on and off the field. Today, I'm joined by Harvard pitcher, coder, and current Shark, Andrew Abler. Andrew's doing more than just throwing innings for the Sharks. We'll get into it. He's helping change the game with AI. We'll dive in, but Andrew, thanks for hopping on.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here. It's a really cool podcast studio, too.
Absolutely. It's been, so obviously, this is the first one. No pressure on us to have a fantastic podcast. Let's just start it right where we're at, on Martha's Vineyard. Life on the island. What's it been like for you? Obviously, much different experience. You grew up in Novi, Michigan. You had some summer ball experience, but on the other side of the coast. What were your expectations coming in, and what has the Vineyard shaped out to be for you?
Yep. So this isn't my first year summer ball. Last summer, I played in the Northwoods League, and I lived at home. So that was obviously not a big adjustment. It was just different level of baseball, same environment. But coming in here, I didn't really know what to expect because I heard that we're all with host families. Some people live in these extravagant houses, and I was really excited about it. And then when I showed up, I found out that I didn't really have a host family. I was living in employee housing for a liquor store by the airport. So the owner of the house, his name's Jimmy, and he rents out to the liquor store owners, J1 Visa housing. And they had 2 extra beds, so they put up me and John to live there. And it's a really cool setup. We can walk to Oak Bluffs, which is really cool. The biggest thing that keeps shocking me about the island is that there's salt water everywhere. Growing up in Michigan, there's a lot of lakes, but it's always fresh water. Sometimes I'll jump in the water or anything, and it'll be salty, and I'll be like, it's so weird to me, even yesterday. But it's really cool. And the vibes are vacation vibes. So when you're walking around to buy food or whatever, everyone feels like they're on vacation kind of. It makes me feel like I'm on vacation when I'm really here to play baseball. So it's a really good setup.
There you go. Yeah. So obviously a lot of foreign housing on the island because there's so many. I mean, this is summer destination. There's this place quadruples in population from the winter to the summer, which obviously that helps for the Sharks to keep them somewhat relaxed. You already mentioned your other experience with summer ball. Just kind of how do you compare it? You mentioned a little bit before we went live that it was more games. Obviously, you said you were living at home. Just what's the biggest differences been so far, and what have you learned so far from this one as opposed to last year?
That's a really good way to phrase it. I'd say the main biggest difference between the Northwoods League and the NECBL, also for those of you listening that don't really know the difference, Cape Cod is usually ranked as the most talented league, and then below it there's always controversy of a couple leagues and which one is the second best, and 2 of the leagues in that pool is the NECBL where the Sharks play, and the Northwoods in the Midwest. So last summer the Northwoods, it's 72 games in 76 days, and the travel is atrocious. We would go from Royal Oak, which is by Detroit, all the way up to Green Bay, which is a 12-hour drive. And there were a lot of hotel sleepaways. Sometimes you were put in a motel, putting 3 players to 2 beds. It was a lot, but it was a good experience. Obviously, you weren't fortunate enough to live on an island, which is pretty cool, and you also have more off days in the NECBL, which is really nice. Especially you can go to the beach, hang out, do whatever. So I think competition-wise, I think our league is a little bit more talented. I may be biased because this is present day, but I definitely think there's a lot better incentive to play here as a pitcher because of the travel. If you say I pitched today and I wasn't eligible to pitch tomorrow, I don't have to travel to Mystic, Connecticut tomorrow, and I can go to the beach, which is pretty cool. Versus in the Northwoods, I would pitch on a Tuesday, and then my next start would be on a Saturday, and I'd have to go on the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday hotel trip, which I think is just a waste of money for the team and a waste of time. But other than that, it was really fun. The one thing about the Northwoods is some stadiums have actual stadiums where there's 5,000 fans at a game, and that was really cool to play in front of. I think the Sharks have the highest attendance in our league.
3,900 per game as of last year. So the official stats on 2025 season aren't in yet, but it's amongst the most in the league, but it's still not close to what the average is in the Northwoods.
Yeah, so I think the Sharks definitely have a lot more attendance than the team I played for last summer, the Royal Oak Leprechauns. But our away games, like in the NECBL, are definitely like the Sharks get more fans, and in the Northwoods it was the opposite. Our away games would be packed, so that was really the only difference. But it's also cool, like signing autographs for like hometown fans. Like didn't really have that experience as much last summer.
Yeah, and is the Shark Tank, like, is it different in any other aspects? Like, I feel like it's really family-friendly oriented. I mean, there's 1,000 kids that chase after foul balls, obviously come up to the bullpen all the time. Is that different at all from the Northwoods?
Yeah, definitely. Okay. I'm signing a lot more autographs, which is pretty cool. Also, locker room, huge, especially, like, you have somewhere to put your stuff and everything. And, I don't know, it's just really cool because everyone on the island's super nice, and it's a really good area to be in. And, like I'll be in the bullpen, and I'll be chatting it up with, like, random fans and having a good convo. Or, like, we'll be, like, playing catch with a kid until, like, our coach tells us to stop. But, like, no, he doesn't really do that. Only if we're losing. Yeah. If we're winning, we can have a good time with the kids. But, yeah, I really like the setup.
And then just kind of zooming out really quick on summer ball, obviously it's a lot different from the regular schedule. You already talked about it a little bit. What does that kind of teach you as a pitcher? I mean, there's so much preparation that goes into a start, especially in the season, in the college season. It's probably a little bit less of that in the summer ball, and it's just games every single day. So what does it teach you about your process, having to stay ready and just really go out there and throw on, I don't know how many days notice, but I mean, you're traveling every single day and it doesn't stop. Like, how do you stay consistent and stay ready?
Yeah, so there's definitely benefits to this schedule and like things that I would prefer to have otherwise, but like the main thing that I think is sweet about summer ball is it's pretty low pressure. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like for development. Yeah. So if you go out and you're not really worried about failing because, you know, even if you fail, you're going to get another chance. And it's also just like kind of low key, and you're just out there to have fun. I mean, everyone playing summer ball, like, is pretty much there to have fun, unless you're in the transfer portal. But like, I'm just here to have fun. So that takes off a lot of pressure. There's no like say you make a bad pitch, like you're not really worried about your coach like doing like yelling at you or whatever, because like you're just there and you're just having a good time. But I've been a starter and a reliever. Like last summer I was a starter. This summer I was a reliever. At Harvard I've had a couple starts, but I've mainly been a reliever. And I think the main difference is that like you got to be ready when you're a reliever. And I honestly but then also it is nice that like you have one inning to like give it your all instead of having to like prepare for like 5 innings and like kind of like you don't really try to pace yourself, but like you kind of subconsciously pace yourself a little bit knowing you have a lot of innings to go to, compared to like if you're coming in the 8th inning and you know like Rowan's coming in the 9th, like you can just throw 100% every pitch, and that makes it a little bit like I guess more fun because you're just there for a short amount of time.
Absolutely. So let's start at the very beginning. Take me back. You grew up in Novi, Michigan. Was baseball always your first love, and was that your first passion to become a professional baseball player?
Yeah. So my dad, really big baseball guy. I was playing catch with my dad before I could walk from like sitting down. Like I've always been like huge on baseball. Like I was like born with like Tigers gear because I'm from Michigan.
Right.
And yeah, growing up, I was really a hitter. Like I like pitching, obviously, but I was really like a better hitter in my childhood up until about high school. Like I don't really know what led the transition to happen. I think I maybe just hit puberty and started throwing faster, and I was like, coaches were like, you have a higher chance of playing in college as a pitcher, and then I kind of focused on that. But yeah, I just played on like local travel teams. There wasn't really a little league by my house, so like 8U to 10U is still tournament teams, which I think is a little bit unusual for most college people. They usually play like little league, and then like once you hit 12, then you transition over. But yeah, in high school, I went to public school, Novi High School. We ended up winning the state championship for the first time ever in our high school history, which was pretty cool for my senior year. And yeah, with recruiting, I was talking to like a decent amount of schools for like over a year. Really stressful but exciting process. And then I called Harvard once, like in August, going into my senior year, And then 2 days later, I flew out, went to camp, and then a day after that, I got an offer, and I committed. So I just thought it was kind of ironic that I've been calling coaches for like over a year, and then I like first communicated with Harvard and committed to them within a week.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it ended up working out. I'm really happy there. Love it there. It's a great baseball and work and life balance. So, yeah.
Absolutely, and also you get some familiarity on the Sharks as well. Sharks have over 4 players from the Harvard Crimson. So you get to Harvard, that's a huge jump to make academics-wise and baseball-wise. What was the biggest adjustment for you, really, in your limited time so far at Harvard?
That's a good question. I think the main biggest adjustment was not being close to home because I'm from Michigan,
Right.
and it was weird, like, I don't know, not seeing my hometown friends and my family every day. Mm-hmm. But really, like, welcoming group. We have random roommates at Harvard. Yeah. Like, even if you know people, you're with a random roommate, and I was put with 2 really good guys. One was a Australian rower, and the other one was on the water polo team. But we all had, like, similar interests, and it was really fun. And, like, they were, like, we were a close room that, like, hung out a lot. So that was pretty inviting, and it was a good environment to be in. And then sophomore year on, when you get to choose your roommates, now I'm just living with my class of baseball. And obviously those are my best friends, and it's a really good setup.
And what are you taking away? What has been your favorite part of the Harvard program so far? What are you enjoying about it the most, and what do you think really separates it from other programs?
So I'm going to give the basic answer that, like, pretty much anyone that could ask that at Harvard is, and it's the people that you're surrounded with. Mm-hmm. Like, obviously the teachers are good, and, like, the classes are interesting, but, like, I feel like for most college professors and classes, like, they're all good. Yeah. But I think the main difference is, like, you'll be sitting next to a kid that, like, built a startup and, like, has all of this experience, or you'll be sitting next to, like, a senator's daughter, and it's, like, it's really cool just being surrounded by, like, people that, like, are extremely hardworking and extremely successful, and, like, collaborating and, like, building your ideas off of the other, like, great minds that got in there.
Yeah. So you've got such a unique story because it's not just about baseball for you. You're an applied math, computer science, and economic major at Harvard, and you've done some really cool stuff with AI, which we'll get into. Last summer, you're literally on the bus rides in the Northwoods League, which I've seen you do on the boat and on the bus here this summer as well, coding up tools for AI. Last year, you were doing stuff for Tread Athletics, and you created an AI pitching coach. Tell me about what you developed. Tell me about how it works and how that idea came up.
Yep. So my whole life, like, I'll start from the beginning. Yeah. When I was 16, I think it was 16, sophomore year of high school, my dad has, like, a technical background, and he made me take a computer programming, like, elective class that didn't really count for anything. Mm-hmm. And I was pretty upset about it because it seemed, like, not that interesting. And then I took it, and I've always loved math, and it was a really fun class. Like, it was, like, the most fun class I've taken there. So then I took the second one, and then I took, like, the AP version the following year, and I really just fell in love with coding, which was kind of not expected before that. And then I decided to major in math and computer science at Harvard just because it's, like, my 2 interests, and they have a lot of overlap too with, like, a lot of classes. Yeah. But basically, freshman year, it's hard to get, like, a good internship after you finish your freshman year of college, obviously, because, like, most jobs look for older, like, sooner to graduate kids. So I kind of really wanted to build this AI pitching coach idea because I thought it'd be fun to integrate, like, my love of coding with baseball, specifically, like, pitching mechanics, because I've done a lot of, like, research on my own on trying to improve my pitching mechanics, and a lot of that had to do with Tread Athletics. So I pretty much, like, cold emailed them, like, the email that you would email to, like, sign up to do a training program with them. But I was like, hey, I just finished my freshman year at Harvard. I don't really have an internship, but I would love to try and code you this AI pitching coach thing for free. All I want is just a free program to develop my skills. And they asked me to talk more about it, and I, like, got on a call with them. And they actually had a similar idea already, but no one had developed it. And it just was, like, really coincidental that I reached out to them. So then they decided to have me on board, and what I would do is I would remote into their computer using their data set I would, like, it was this thing called remote PC. So I'd click it, and then I'd open the desktop, and their computer would be screen mirrored onto my computer when I'd be on the bus or everything. which was really helpful, especially being on like Wi-Fi hotspots, because like I didn't need like the huge processing. All I needed to do was just have enough data to be able to screen mirror onto my screen. Right. But then also in April, right before the internship started, I reached out to the Harvard Computer Science Research Department. And I was like, hey, I'm building this AI pitching coach, but at the time I haven't taken any machine learning classes, which is like how AI works in the like computer level. And I was like, I need a little bit of help with this. Is there any way like you could call it like research with Harvard too, and I could like get some advice from professors or researchers? And they were like, yeah. So it ended up counting as like a dual internship, which was pretty exciting. Okay. And I would have weekly Zoom meetings with 2 professors at Harvard, and they would just like talk to me about like what I should plan on building. And like I also did a lot of my own independent research. And basically what the task was Tread provided me a data set of a video of a pitcher pitching from the side, so camera would be right here, like the pitch would be there, and it was labeled with each pitcher's mechanics. And the way that it was labeled there were 11 different binary checkpoints. So what that is like hip-shoulder separation. Mm-hmm. That's what a lot of people look at in pitching mechanics to tell if you are efficient with like your transfer into the throw or if you're inefficient. And they had their coaches look at the video and label hip-shoulder separation either good as a 1 or bad as a 0. And they did that for 10 more checkpoints too. And I used computer vision open source framework called MediaPipe, which Google coded, where they took a huge data set of just people standing and someone went in and labeled, all right, this is where the left shoulder is, this is where the left elbow is, this is where the knee is. But then they labeled it with like 100,000 different images, I'm guessing probably more, and they paired it with just the labels. And then they trained their own machine learning model on that. I took that, and then I was able to take the frames of a pitcher pitching and know where each body part was. Wow. Then I encoded where the body parts were with the labels of the pitching mechanics and like the key frames throughout a throw. And it was able, with enough example pitchers paired with like the labels, it was able to predict a new player's like if they're doing what good, what bad. With I think I got it up to 92% accuracy for upper body checkpoints and like 85% accuracy for lower body checkpoints like hip-shoulder separation. And it was a really fun project. Got a lot of work, but a lot of the coding was like on buses because like we had a 12-hour bus ride to Green Bay. It was something to do, like I mentioned earlier, and it was really fun. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, you were on the grind, obviously doing that this summer. First of all, first question, how has that practice kind of kept you locked in this summer? I mean, I see you coding. What are you doing this summer, this time around?
Yeah. So basically, that project had a lot of success, and like Harvard wrote an article about it, posted on their athletic website.
We'll link that.
They also posted on LinkedIn and like Instagram and even TikTok. And basically, a lot of like organizations and like teams reached out about me working for them this summer because they heard about the project last summer. I was in talks with a lot of MLB teams, but I think like currently my mindset is like I've worked in the like baseball development field already. I want to get a little experience in like the more financy field and then like kind of compare them and see what I want to do long term. Yeah. So I ended up being paired with this loaning fund called Rock Fence Capital. Okay. And basically what they do is they provide loans to baseball prospects, and they also invest in baseball related companies. Where like they'll find a young prospect and be like, we'll give you X dollars, but then we want a return on that. And it's pretty much just like investing in athletes and like hedging their like huge pay gap, because you'll go from like earning nothing to earning like millions out of nowhere. And it's a pretty fascinating thing. And right now I'm just doing some predictive modeling, trying to use machine learning to try and like value new prospects, like probability of making a lot of money down the road. Yeah. And it's really fun.
I mean, it's so cool. And your passion for coding, comes through. It's obvious, just the way you talk about it. How much of that AI tool do you use yourself for your own pitching mechanics?
So I had access to the real Tread. Mm-hmm. So I didn't really use it for my own pitching mechanics at all, just because like they had coaches annotate the videos for me to build a model on, and it was like 81% what it was like 88% accuracy on average. So I had the 100% accuracy, like the actual human. I had access to that. So I really just stuck with that.
How do you say overall, just how do you see AI shaping the future of baseball? I mean, it is becoming more and more integrated into schools, into education, really all works of jobs, all works of working. Oh my Lord. Pitching, hitting, scouting, where do you think that AI can make the biggest impact in baseball?
There's like I think many different aspects of baseball can be impacted by it. I think with baseball development, there's apps like Mustard and also similar to the one I built where there is a lot of like use of machine learning to help a kid like improve his mechanics without needing to pay a coach like $100 an hour for that. Like I think as technology progresses, that's going to be a lot more accessible, and it's just going to be like subscription based. And then within like the MLB, there's a lot of like machine learning based predictive modeling to like simulate outcomes of like different players and different trades and stuff. And also there was a pretty interesting article written. I forgot who wrote it, but when I was like interviewing kind of with the Dodgers, or I guess just like learning about them, just talk about like potentially working with them in the future. They sent me an article about just using recurrent neural networks to try and predict Tommy John prediction just based off of the player statistics and like the TrackMan data,
Really?
And it was really accurate. So like that's pretty fascinating.
Yeah,
to just
that's
have like computers like flag, all right, this guy could like tear up his UCL soon. Maybe we should shut him down and prevent it from happening. So like there's a lot of aspects in all sorts of baseball.
No, it's so interesting because obviously the talent in baseball is reaching a point it's never been before. More guys are throwing 100 more than ever, and on the drawbacks that it feels like there's more injuries more than ever. I mean, you mentioned it, Tommy John, so I mean that could be massive for the sport of baseball. I'm going to segue and zoom out a little bit. Talk about college sports and NIL, which is a wild state right now. Obviously, doesn't necessarily relate exactly to any one of these player situations, but we're seeing it impact our league. I mean, just all of college sports, doesn't even have to be baseball, is being widely impacted by NIL. What do you think? I mean, NIL, the transfer portal, all of it. How do you see those shifts impacting players around you, players like you?
I think first let's start with like the transfer portal. I don't have too much to talk about NIL because Harvard doesn't really have NIL.
Right.
I mean, like you wouldn't really imagine like the Harvard students being that interested in the baseball team. That's more for like the SEC kids on our team.
Right.
But with the transfer portal, I think it's a mix of like helping a lot of guys and screwing some guys over because like some people that weren't a good fit at their school, like they didn't just connect with their coaches or their teammate enough, they can transfer to a new school and like have a whole opportunity with no like repercussions from it. Like you can just start playing right away. But then some people have coaches where like if you're young and you commit to a school and your coach is like huge on like trying to get experienced players, so they transfer in a ton of like incoming seniors, and you kind of get screwed out of your playing time even though like you committed to this coach. So I've seen it help a lot of guys and hurt a lot of guys. Like a good example is like Jackson Miller.
Yep.
He was at Ole Miss, didn't really seem to click with his coaches as much as he wanted to. And now he just transferred to Wake Forest, which is like a school on par with Ole Miss and like talent, or like in my opinion, it's pretty close.
Yeah.
But like he seems to have a lot better fit there, and like he'll enjoy that a lot. So like that's an example of the transfer portal being a great thing for a player.
Yeah, no, there's definitely a lot of drawbacks though. I mean, even our summer season is being affected. A lot of guys from our team, a lot of guys from teams around the NECBL are leaving due to their coaches either saying that they've thrown too many innings or just their bodies saying so. So the transfer portal is impacting everything, and I mean, it's getting larger and larger. There's over 6,000 baseball players in the portal, which is wild to think about. It's kind of encouraging a completely different era, almost a journeyman era in college sports. It's wild.
I'm curious to see how it impacts the Ivy League because I think the only schools that really transfer in guys like that I know of is really just Penn and Columbia, because I don't know really why, but they've transferred in guys and transferred out a little bit. But like Harvard, for example, like we've never had anyone join or leave the team unless they were walking on already being within Harvard. And that means that whoever we recruit is like our only source of talent for the next 4 years. And like it is going to be like kind of like hit and miss because I think it will help us get more recruits because players are like kind of guaranteed to not get cut. And people, like, if they don't want like a super stressful like mid part of their college career, like they're guaranteed to like stay at the same school. But then it also is like other schools are transferring in better players to like get better, but we can't because no one, like, our admissions doesn't really let transfers in at all. So like I'm curious to see down the road if that makes like the Ivy League like have more talent compared to the rest or less.
Yeah. Well, we will see. Only time has that answer. Just two more questions I got for you. So obviously you've had a really good start to the summer, really good summer, struck out 14 batters over 15 and a third innings of work. We already kind of talked about how big of a marathon this is. Lately, not to expose you, but you've been getting hit around a little bit. 6 hits on you in the last 3 innings, which isn't terrible, but just, I mean, it speaks to how difficult it is to try to stay consistent and produce the same results. I mean, it's insane. I couldn't do it, which is why I'm here talking. How do you manage that? And when things don't go your way, is it more about physical adjustments or is it the mental side? And how do you kind of hit the reset button and have a short-term memory?
Yeah, it's a really good question that I've obviously been thinking about a lot. Which was like the difference in high school and college really is like everyone on the Sharks really like they were like the star of their high school team. Like I never really experienced like any sort of like being hit around consistently until I got to college, and more specifically like even it was in the Northwoods last summer, like halfway through the season about where we are now. And last year that was a big shock because like all my confidence before that was kind of blinded confidence instead of earned confidence because you just didn't really know like you can like have a bad game really. Yeah. So I think going through all that adversity and like it was really stressful last summer, like having to deal with like getting hit and like still maintaining your confidence. But I was able to get it back. My last like 3 starts of the season last summer were really good. So I think this summer it's just knowing that like I'm gonna be pitching good again. It's just a matter of time and like staying to the grind. And like obviously there are mental adjustments. Like I think a little bit too much on the mound instead of just trying to like focus on one pitch at a time. So that's something I've been working on a lot to try and like get better. And I also think it's just a mix of like being sore and like your body's not like fully ready to pitch. So hopefully like with a couple days off I'll be good to go and then like get the velo back up and we'll be striking out a lot of batters.
Finish this season strong. Sharks are coming up on the end, only 7 games I believe before the playoffs, and it's looking like we're going to make a playoff spot. All right, last question. We're at the finish line. Appreciate everybody for listening. Obviously, you're managing a lot. You're doing a lot. Very impressive. What advice would you give to a kid who's trying to balance sports and academics or really just chase their passion at a high level like you?
I think the biggest advice I have is like scrolling on like social media and YouTube. A lot of like I feel like that's a lot of time waste. Like I still scroll obviously because it's fun, but like I try to limit it and spend that time like when I'm not like doing something super fun like going to the beach. Instead of kind of just wasting it away, like I try to do something to get better, whether that's like mobility or like doing like coding work or anything. Mm-hmm. And I just think like there's a lot of time in like scrolling when it's like it's not really that fun. It's just because you're bored. You could like translate that time into getting better. And then also this is a little bit of a sensitive topic, but like growing up throughout high school, I had a lot of friends that were like really good at like their sport or whatever, and it seemed like when they were like 14 like they had a good chance of going pro, and a decent amount of them like started like vaping and like smoking weed and stuff. Mm-hmm. And there was a pretty trend of like the kids that kind of like got hooked on that stuff kind of faded out and didn't end up having a good college career, while the kids that like stayed focused on their grind and started lifting a lot, like there was a big gap, and like just putting in more effort leads to more success. I feel like that's a really big translation in all sport kinds of fields, and that's really prominent in baseball, especially with hitting. I mean, I'm not a hitter, but everyone on the Sharks definitely hit batting practice a lot more than the kids that wish they were on the Sharks and did not make it. So, yeah.
Dedication to the work. This is fantastic. The floor is yours. Any last words you want to say? I mean, you're the first guest, and I feel like it went pretty well. We'll see how the viewers think. But, I mean, the floor is yours for any final comments. What do you think about it? Your time on the Vineyard? Anything?
I'm just really thankful for Russ and my pitching coach for putting me here. It's a really enjoyable summer. And like unlike last summer, at this point I was kind of just excited to go home. But right now I'm like just still happy to be here because like it's the best setup. The group of guys are really close, and like it's a really great opportunity.
Absolutely. Andrew, this is awesome. Thanks for joining me, giving us a look at your world on and off the field. This is it. This is for the episode of the Shark Tank Podcast number 1. We'll be back soon with more stories from your Martha's Vineyard Sharks. And a huge thank you to Martha's Vineyard Community Television for making this episode of Shark Talk possible.